When I covered the visual novel Never 7 earlier this month, it was my first trek into the early works of Uchikoshi, known more for the Zero Escape series. I thought it was good but very flawed, along with the initial development really limiting what Uchikoshi could do with his trademark plot twists and sci-fi. But its follow-up is a game that's much more well known in the VN community about an underwater theme park and a group of people trapped within it. Let's dive right in. Here is my review of Ever 17: The Out of Infinity for the Nintendo Switch. To start things off, Ever 17 is technically a follow-up to Never 7, but you don't need to play that initial game before this one. It was originally developed to not even be connected to the first game, and the connections here are a bit loose at best. A few things will make a little more sense to the reader if they played Never 7 first, but it's not required reading. Anyways, the story of Ever 17 takes place at LeMu, an underwater amusement park focused on letting people see the undersea animal life by actually being dozens upon dozens of meters underwater. The plot is centered around a young man named Takeshi who came to the park with two of his friends and an amnesiac boy known only as the Kid, who seemed to be there looking for someone. When an accident ruptures many parts of LeMu, causing the only way to the surface to be flooded with seawater, Takeshi and the Kid become trapped inside with a few other survivors in the form of the quiet and cold Tsugumi, the cheery tomboy part-time employee known as Yu, a young girl named Coco, and the kind and informative park guide Sora. Together, the group have to work on surviving in the underwater facility while trying to find an escape route before the whole place collapses and sinks to the bottom of the ocean. Overall, I think this story here is pretty great. Unlike Never 7, I almost immediately felt attached and related to the characters, especially Yu and Sora. They're all forced to work and live together while their survival time is slowly ticking away. And almost all of the routes are well done with the character development. Now, as far as the overall plot twist aspect, I think the normal routes work well on their own, but Coco's is where things get real interesting. Uchikoshi is the one who wrote Coco's route, and it gets really meta with the concepts that the game puts in your head from the other routes and combines them all together. It's sort of a situation of, hey, now that you've seen all of the different route options, let's combine them all together and show you what really happened. But there is one important thing to note here. The console version of Ever 17 is not based on the original PC version. Its script is based on the Xbox 360 remake from 2011. This version shortened the overall narrative and made a lot of small changes to the story. A lot of these changes are pretty good, and it gave more character development to people like Sarah, though it also made some weird choices regarding some of the twists that come in the later routes. Many diehard fans of the original game would probably tell you the narrative is completely ruined by this, but it's still a great story, and if you don't know the story of the original, you're not going to be upset by the changes they made anyways. It's really more of a situation of, hey wait, I know what happens, why did they change that? That's weird. Now, as far as the translation goes, there are a good number of typos in this, just like with Never 7. The actual impact of these typos is massively overblown by the online community though. It's really just a few things here and there, like extra spaces during contractions or saying over her instead of over here. Not once did I have issues seeing or understanding what they meant. That brings us to my own thoughts on the story. I liked it a lot. There weren't really any routes I truly disliked. Sora and Tsugumi's routes were emotional, and their bad ending made me sob with just how horrific it turned out. I expected it to be pretty depressing, but when you go into it, you will not be prepared for what it actually does. I was an emotional mess for almost an hour after I unlocked it. Yu's route was pretty good as well, though Sarah's route was the weakest by far. Its twist was very predictable, but I'd still call it a good route. I thoroughly enjoyed my entire time with this game, all 40 plus hours of it. When it comes to gameplay, this is a visual novel with dialogue choices. As you play, you'll be watching cutscenes play out and make occasional choices to push the narrative in a specific direction. First, we have the same features as Never 7, auto, skip, looking at the log, etc. It's even got the same 8 pages for save data. Now, with this being the Xbox 360 version of Ever 17, the route system isn't quite as free as it was in the original. To put it simply, this game can either be played as Takeshi or the Kid, and they each have 2 heroine routes they can go into, with Takeshi having Sora and Tsugumi, while the Kid has Sarah and Yu. In this version, however, you cannot unlock the dialogue choice to do the Kid's routes until you've already cleared either Sarah or Tsugumi with Takeshi. While there technically is an in-game reason for why this can sort of make sense, it's a weird change. Past that, expect it to be very similar to Never 7. You make dialogue choices based on whose route you want to go on. While the game never really tells you in its save data which route you're on, it's relatively easy to figure out, with many of the choices being simple things like go with Sarah or go with Tsugumi. It's also the same with how you get the real route and ending. To be able to see the truth of what's really going on in this game, you need to clear all 4 good endings for Sora, Tsugumi, Sarah, and Yu. Then you can access Coco's route from either Takeshi or the Kid and unlock the true ending. This also leads to the game's main issue, and that is repetition. The problem with Ever 17 is that almost all of its events happen in every route, but slightly differently with the different heroines. They all have their unique interactions, like Sora's lecture on existence, or Yu trying to dropkick the control room's computer terminal. But several of the scenes of things going wrong and everyone spending time together happen in almost the same way in every single route. The issue here is when you're replaying for the different endings. Ever 17 has that built-in feature to skip red text, but because all of these scenes are worded slightly different in each route, it treats the entire sequence of events as not read, making you either skip all text and risk skipping over something new, or having to rewatch entire sequences, some of which aren't even different in their script. It really felt like it padded the time out, and I felt myself detaching myself when watching cutscenes I'd already watched savor 1 or 2 words being slightly altered. That also brings us to content and length, which there is a ton of. Despite this being the supposedly shorter version of the game's script, you're going to be spending a lot of time here. I got Sora's good ending after playing for about 13 hours and didn't clear Coco's route and unlock the true ending until I'd been playing well past the 40-hour mark. Unless you're a quick reader, faster than the fastest auto-advance setting this game has, expect a journey towards the true end to easily last you 40 to 50 hours. Next up is presentation, which I think looks great. The backgrounds of Never 7 easily showed their age, having blemishes all over and a ton of little jagged edges and somewhat blurred colors. But the backgrounds of Ever 17 look colorful, smooth, and very pretty. Well, I've seen the VN community rip it apart online for apparently being horribly upscaled. I've never looked at the backgrounds and didn't think that they looked really nice, though the CGs have been cropped a bit, just like with the previous game. To show you an example, here is a comparison. On the left is Sora hiding during flashlight tag in the original version, and on the right is the remastered one, with not only a new background area to match the location, but you can no longer see the top of Sora's head or the full view of her rose-adorned sandals. Though to be honest, if you haven't played the original, it likely won't even be an issue for you. It's unfortunate that you can't see the full CG even in the gallery, but I don't view it as a gigantic issue. I have no issues with performance, so let's go straight into battery life. Ever 17 gives the original and light models a battery range of 4 to 5 hours, while the V2 and OLED models get 7 to 8 hours. In conclusion, Ever 17 comes out on the Switch looking sharp and very colorful, bringing its underwater survival story to the handheld world. Now, on the downside, the story can get repetitive in how it slightly alters a lot of scenes in each of the routes. It used the Xbox Remake script instead of the original, and it has the same cropped CGs as the previous entry. But if you're okay with it being based on the remake, it's a great and emotional story that made me break down and cry several times before I got to the end. Reviews to Go rates Ever 17 for the Nintendo Switch an 8 out of 10. If you have any comments or questions, feel free to leave them below. Thank you for watching, and have a great day.